enforcement agencies, this is the worst case scenario.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
No officer ever wants to be involved in a situation where he or she has to use deadly force or be in a position where they may need to take someone else's life.
But the end of traumatic, tragic events like an officer-involved shooting is really only the beginning. Chippewa County District Attorney Stephen Gibbs.
When someone dies, obviously it has to be looked into. There has to be an investigation as to whether there's any foul play.
That's where Assembly Bill 409 comes in. It was signed by Governor Scott Walker last spring, making Wisconsin the first state to have a law requiring all officer-involved deaths be investigated by an outside agency. It was pushed through primarily by the families of those who have been killed by officers, like Jolyn Ashmore of Neilsville.
Everybody that met him loved him.
Her son was killed by a police officer who was called to a domestic dispute at their home in December of 2013. That officer was later exonerated.
There was a young life taken that did not need to be taken. There were other options, other ways it could have been dealt with.
Jolyn hopes this law will help others in her situation.
It's very personal to me, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I think every state should have that.
But Jolyn's feelings towards this legislation are shared by many others. Eau Claire Deputy Chief Matt Rokas is one of them.
We embrace the passage of this law. We think it's a good thing. One of the main benefits of it is it allows the opportunity for a transparent and impartial investigation to occur.
You may remember in October of 2012, this was the scene on Brackett Avenue in Eau Claire. Flashing lights, sirens, a chase that ended in the Culver's parking lot after a man police say was responsible for stealing 60 guns refused to drop the pistol he was carrying and was killed. The officer who pulled the trigger, Jason Rupert, was later cleared.
The Wisconsin Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation was the lead agency into the officer's use of deadly force for that incident. An impartial agency conducted the investigation. There was an impartial person or agency reviewed the final findings and made the determination. So there was much more credibility in that decision.
More recently, in November of 2014, outside investigators were used in a case in Chippewa Falls. While on a warrant, a suspect attacked Deputy William Gray with a knife. That suspect, Sharinder Garcha, was also shot and killed. And yet again, the state was called in. But this was not anything new for Chippewa County.
For as long as I can remember, Chippewa County has always referred the investigation into officer-involved shootings to outside agencies. It's setting forth that I'm not checking you, you're not checking me, we're letting a third outside individual agency decide as to the facts and the investigation of the matter.
Careful guys, he's got a gun. Be careful, he's got a gun.
In this dash cam video, you can see Rusk County Sheriff Jeff Wallace. He responded to a bank robbery back in 2009 where one guy took off armed. Several rounds were fired when deputies finally caught up with him.
In my mind, we did what we did and did what we had to do to keep the people here safe, and I can live with it, but I'll never forget it.
Wallace tells me he was relieved to have Barron County review his actions that day.
You know, there's always going to be questions when your own department investigates something of that nature. You know, somebody's always going to question whether you're covering up something or whether you're not, but I think it does mean more. I think it takes a lot of pressure off of your department if another department does the investigation.
Another reason investigators, victims, and the officers involved believe in this historic law.